In the fall of 2003, just off the coast of Western Australia, a 9-foot great white shark vanished. Not tagged and lost, not injured and recovered. Gone. And when scientists recovered the tag, they discovered something terrifying. It hadn't malfunctioned. It had been swallowed. This story didn't start with horror. It started with science. A team from Australia's Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, CSIRO, was running a routine tracking operation. Their mission? Monitor the migratory patterns of great white sharks off the southern coast. In late 2003, they successfully tagged a healthy female, young but powerful, 9 feet long, a perfect candidate. The satellite tag was state-of-the-art, measuring depth, movement, water temperature, and behavior for several months. It was programmed to detach and float to the surface, beaming all that invaluable data back to researchers. For weeks, everything was normal. The shark swam her routes, dove, surfaced, ate, rested, a textbook predator in her prime. Then one day, the tag came ashore, but the shark was gone, and the data it carried was impossible. The readings started off ordinary. Then, abruptly, they turned bizarre. First, a sudden temperature spike. From a chilly 46 degrees Fahrenheit, typical of deep ocean waters, to a blistering 78 degrees Fahrenheit. In the open ocean, that kind of heat at depth doesn't exist, unless the tag had been swallowed by something warm-blooded. Moments after that temperature shift, the tag plunged nearly 1,900 feet straight down into the deep ocean. Not a gentle drift, not a malfunctioning sink. Something was moving, swimming, carrying it. For days, the tag kept transmitting as it moved at depth, before eventually surfacing and drifting ashore. Whatever had swallowed the device hadn't just passed by. It had taken the shark with it, into the abyss. What could possibly consume a 9-foot great white shark? When news of the incident spread, later popularized by the 2014 Smithsonian documentary Hunt for the Super Predator, the public latched onto wild theories: sea monsters, prehistoric leviathans, a modern-day megalodon. Social media ran wild. But the scientists at CSIRO? They stayed grounded. Theory 1. A larger great white. Unlikely, sure, but biologically possible. Shark cannibalism is more common than most people think. In fact, it starts in the womb. Sand tiger sharks, still unborn, will devour their siblings before birth, a brutal race of survival. Survival of the fiercest from day one. Among adults, it's rare, but not unheard of. Great whites have been seen attacking smaller members of their own kind. Tiger sharks, bull sharks, all known to take the occasional bite out of a peer. But swallowing a 9-foot shark whole? That would take a giant, at least 16 to 20 feet in length, maybe more. And then came the clincher, the temperature reading. Great whites are regionally endothermic. They can warm parts of their bodies, especially their stomachs, to digest prey faster. A digestive system running at 78 degrees Fahrenheit? Perfectly consistent with a massive, metabolically active white shark. That theory, unsettling as it was, fit the facts. But it wasn't the only one on the table. Enter the orca. Killer whales are apex predators in every ocean they inhabit. Brilliant, social, efficient hunters. And they've got a thing for sharks. In South Africa in 2017, 5 great whites washed ashore. Dead. Each missing only one organ, the liver. Removed with surgical precision. Clean, targeted, intentional. The suspects? 2 orcas, nicknamed Port and Starboard, renowned for their specialized shark hunting tactics. How do they do it? They flip the shark upside down, triggering tonic immobility, a kind of biological sleep mode. Then, they make a precise incision, remove the liver, and leave the rest. Calculated, ruthless, efficient. And their impact is psychological too. When orcas enter a region, great whites flee. Whole populations vanish from feeding grounds, gone in hours. Fear alone drives them away. Could one of these apex hunters have been the culprit? The orca theory was compelling until the data told a different story. First problem? The temperature. Orca body heat averages 97 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, far higher than the 78 degrees Fahrenheit recorded.
If an orca had swallowed the tag, the readings would show it. Second, the behavior. Orcas don't eat entire sharks. They extract what they need, the liver, and ditch the rest. They're surgical, not gluttonous. But this was a full-body consumption. Something had devoured the shark completely and dove nearly 2,000 feet while doing it. And orcas? They're surface hunters. They can dive deep, but they rarely do, and almost never during attacks. Final point? The other tagged sharks in the area. When orcas strike, the sea tells you. Other sharks bolt. The ecosystem panics. But after this attack? Nothing. No exodus, no panic, no alarm. This wasn't a pod of orcas making a statement. This was something else. Something solitary.
With orcas effectively ruled out, scientists were left with a conclusion that was simple, but no less terrifying. The attacker wasn't an outsider. It was one of their own. A colossal great white, perhaps 20 feet long, weighing over 4,000 pounds. Not just a cannibal, an ambush predator. There was no sign of a struggle in the data, no frantic dives or zigzags from the tagged shark before it vanished. It hadn't seen the attack coming, which meant the predator didn't chase it. It waited, then struck with such speed and force, the smaller shark never had a chance. Predation, camouflage, precision. Not instinct, strategy. Dr. Dave Riggs, the filmmaker behind the Smithsonian documentary, put it plainly. When you're a 9-foot shark, you think you're safe, but you're not. Something out there is bigger, and it's hungry. We often talk about the ocean's mysteries in terms of the deep, the crushing black of the abyssal zone. But the truth is, you don't need to go that far. Even in coastal waters, visibility drops to 0 within meters. Anything could be circling just beyond sight. Scientists have long known that large great whites prey on smaller sharks. Bite scars on survivors tell that story clearly. But witnessing it through data, seeing the moment of ambush translated into temperature spikes and plunging depth readings, brought a new level of clarity. This wasn't just theory anymore. It was documented. And it forced researchers to ask uncomfortable questions. How often does this happen? How many tagged sharks have vanished not because the technology failed, but because something found them first? The ocean keeps its secrets well. Most of the time, there are no witnesses, no carcasses, no evidence, just silence. For decades, the great white shark held a singular place in our imagination, the apex, the unchallenged ruler, the top of the food chain. But that image was always incomplete. Not wrong, just partial. Because within that species, there's a brutal hierarchy. Size matters, strength matters, and the biggest individuals don't just dominate territory, they eliminate competition. Scientists have observed this in other shark species for years. Large tiger sharks eating smaller ones, bull sharks cannibalizing rivals. But seeing it laid bare in tracking data, seeing a 9-foot predator become prey in an instant, reminded us of something we'd conveniently forgotten. There's always something bigger, and it doesn't announce itself, it just strikes. In the end, the vanishing of a single shark exposed a reality more unsettling than any sea monster legend. The predator wasn't unknown, it wasn't prehistoric, it wasn't hiding in some unexplored trench. It was a great white shark, just bigger. And that's what makes this story so haunting. Not the mystery, the answer. Because a 20-foot great white can ambush and devour a 9-foot great white so quickly, so efficiently, that there's no struggle, no warning, no escape. And we had no idea it was happening. We set out to study predators, and we found one we weren't looking for. Because in the ocean, even the apex can become prey.